Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Harry Knuckles podcast. It is November 12th, 2014, and my name is Chad. And of course, I'm joined by Hunter. Say what up, man. And this week, I just wanted to start off by explaining why there was no episode last week. Uh, we we here at Harry Knuckles Productions are very sad to inform you that there were technical difficulties last week. Um, to put it simply, for those of you who don't know, I use a screen recorder to do these videos. Yes, if there's another way to do this, because Google Hangouts, for whatever reason, on the iPad won't let you join a live video call. We've tried it, doesn't work. So we have to record a private Google Hangout using BB Flashback. So shout out to BB Flashback on Twitter. So basically that's what we've been using. And last week, after the episode, you should just see the amount of effort that went into that hour and 11 minutes of time. It was amazing. Yeah, if you could just see the amount of notes that I had. I mean, I had 4 pages of notes. I had things to actually talk about that weren't obvious. It was incredible. So the win has been taken out of our sails a bit, but we are here for week 11. So let's hope everything goes according to plan. Um, oh, good. Yes, it is very. We're experiencing growing pains. Oh, by the way, just so everyone knows, the error that happened after the episode ended, I hit save. And when I hit save, the program save as wasn't responding. And I let it sit there for a while, and that's your one shot. Once it says not responding, that's it. So I hit X and lost the episode. So, these things happen, but we're moving on. I'm yeah, it was made us laugh. I cried a bit, but only for like 5 minutes afterwards. I was all good. Got some cereal in me, and I was good to go. Um, yeah. So this week, this week we're going to be talking about the same thing we always talk about. What happened last week, what we expect to happen next week, get our opinions on stuff in the NFL, and we'll might throw some basketball stuff in there towards the end. I got a little factoid about basketball regarding Kobe Bryant. So it'll all be fun, and hopefully everyone will get to listen to this episode. The first thing that I did want to talk about, ESPN mentioned their midseason report, and you can imagine that this would have been way more interesting last week if the episode had worked. But I still wanted to talk about it a little bit because I do find it interesting just to get a summary of the first 10 games of the season. Um, so they basically the way they do it is they uh, grade teams based on um, their overall grade, and those three factors are the most valuable, the most disappointing, and just their overall, as I said before. And I found it interesting that only 3 teams in the NFL got A's. That includes A minuses, regular A's, and A pluses. And that's the Patriots, the Broncos, and the Colts. A lot of teams got B's, a lot of teams got C's, and a lot of teams got D's. And they skipped E and went straight to F. So I wanted to know, all right, yeah, if you had to guess 4 teams that got an F, it's pretty easy. The Jets, the Raiders, the Falcons, and the Bucks. So, you know, I mean, I feel that it's warranted. But one thing that I did think was interesting, though, Arizona got a B at 8-1. Arizona got a B. Um, oh, you seem to take issue with this. Yeah, because last week or the week before, we were talking about how people just they refused to really nudge Arizona over the hump as like a truly formidable team. And you were like, yeah, I thought they were a good team since their first couple of wins. So why do you think they didn't make the cut for an A? Well, I'll read you. Well, I'll show you the kind of thing you're dealing with here as far as what they're grading it based on. Obviously, these go in depth, but just the overall grade is a B plus. The defense is terrific. Work needs to be done on offense. All right, so that's the baseline. Then it says the most valuable is Todd Bowles. The coordinator has the defense thriving despite injuries. Then the most disappointing is Michael Floyd. He was the fourth on team in catches after breakout in 2013, but he hasn't been what he was last year. That's all it says. And from that, no, that's not in depth. That's just like the headlines or whatever. But based off of that, I honestly don't know. I mean, work needs to be done on offense, but yeah, they're still winning games. I don't know if exactly. So I've gone ahead and just said, all right, fair enough. They are a top tier team. They deserve to be in the in the question for or sorry in the conversation for formidable teams in the NFL. I was a bit weary at first just because of the lack of consistent quarterback play that there was at the beginning of the season. But now that it's shown that it doesn't matter who's back there, yeah, they're winning games just because Bruce Arians is just an excellent coach. Indeed. I circled some of these grades just because I thought they were either unfair or just interesting. And then we'll move on to week 10. But San Diego drops down. Obviously, they're on a losing streak, or they were. Um, oh, no. Yeah, they are. They are on a losing streak. And they got a C, which is funny because they were like the number one team in the NFL like 3 weeks ago. Um, Seattle got a B, and New Orleans got a B. That one, I don't get that at all. I understand being a division leader, but come on, a B? You're like Detroit got a B, Philly got a B, Green Bay. All of those teams got Bs, but New Orleans gets lumped in because their division leader and their offense is good. No, absolutely not. St. Louis, despite beating the Niners and Seattle, is a D. I guess I can agree with that. Their record's not very good, and they're not consistent. Um, those are the only ones that I thought, were of interest. Baltimore got a C. Ultimately, these are just, conjecture and not based on anything. No one should be offended by these rankings. These are just opinions. But they did put. You'll be happy to know Cincinnati did get a B. But that might, if they did this list now, it might drop a little bit. So let's go ahead and that's a perfect segue into Week 10. Starting with Thursday night, November 6th. Cleveland Browns took on the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not going to enjoy anything. I'm simply reading what the scoreboard is. The Cleveland Browns won 24 to 3. Thoughts? What makes you say that? Oh yeah, yeah, he should have. Some of those picks were dropped on possessions where a pick was thrown anyway. But yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. I, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was the worst performance by a QB this season. It might rival the Geno Smith game where he completed 2 passes and threw 3 interceptions. You never told me what your. I'd agree. You never told me your opinion. Well, from what I saw, it didn't look like he was ever like you can give him as many reps as you wanted to. It didn't look like he was ever really going to get on track. Like the whole night, like I told you, it's the Andy Dalton factor. The Bengals will only win games where he plays well. If he does not play well, it's not possible. I'm sorry. Prime time or not, it doesn't happen. So you never did tell me though what your opinion of Andy Dalton is on the show. Yeah. So, what are your thoughts just in general on it, Andy Dalton as a Bengals fan, seeing him play? I love how Geno Smith has just become the floor. Really? Wow, throwing daggers out here. Counts for something. Not wins apparently, and a draw. Oh, that should be really good. It does make you wonder, but it's just what you do. Like I've just chalked it up to that's just what you do with quarterbacks. I mean, you might as well, right? Because we've seen what happens if you get some random free agent in there or someone who doesn't have a lot of experience. Like, just go with what you know works. Because, like, who's his backup? AJ McCarron? Oh, yeah, that's right, Jason Campbell. So it's like, come on, let's not be ridiculous now. What other option do they have? Let's be real here. Uh, hey. I'm sure no one will. Um, all right, well, we just talked about your team. Let's go ahead and talk about the Baltimore Ravens, which is my team. I proudly represent the Baltimore Ravens, beating the Tennessee Titans, and I wouldn't call it convincing form, but 21-7, a win is a win, I guess. I mean, okay. There's not much to extrapolate from this at all. Oh yeah, sure. Or I have no connections whatsoever to uh a non-star player on my team just because he's on my team. The same thing with like the Steve Smith offensive pass interference penalty. Like I know that's offensive pass interference just because it's Steve Smith, just because it's Baltimore, just because it's the game-winning touchdown. That doesn't change my opinion of it. I didn't see it happen. I started watching that game after I got home, and that I walked in as Delaney Walker was getting carted away. And you know me, I'm very squeamish, so I I never watch replays of any injuries whatsoever. I always leave the room or just close my eyes. So I didn't see any of that. But I'm not sure who you're referring to. It could be Danny Gore or Tremaine Jacobs. Okay. Um, well, we had two new players playing. We had Danny Gore and Tremaine Jacobs. It could have been one of those two. But yeah, I mean, Baltimore's never been like a saint as far as like the overall attitude of players or anything. So, I mean, did you see the cheap shot Terrell Suggs did on LeGarrette Blunt? Come on, stuff like that doesn't surprise me. Do I wish that Baltimore had a better reputation? Sure, but yeah, I guess I have to, right? But let's talk about these games that just don't make any sense. Like once again, I'm basing my opinion from now on just on a whim. Like I might as well just go with whatever ESPN says. If ESPN says they're the better team, they're the better team. Because I honestly don't know. Because I want to start off first with the easy stuff, the stuff that makes sense, and then we'll get into some deeper things. Uh, the Cowboys beat the Jaguars 31-17 in London. That would make sense. All right, I'll accept that. Tony Romo looked good. It's a good game for you to get back into it after taking that knee to the back and breaking a bone there. That would make sense. Dolphins lost to the Lions. This would be a. I knew that this would be a pretty closely contested game. I honestly regret not seeing it. You are. Well, I would hope. Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think I picked Detroit last week. I don't know. But the people don't even know because that episode didn't air, so doesn't count. Yeah. So no one's getting credit for the Jets beating Pittsburgh. The people don't know that. The fans don't know. I could have picked New York. As a matter of fact, I did. I did. Forget it. I did. Anyway, 49ers against the Saints. 49ers are they won 27-24. Uh, oh dear. Worse. Oh yeah, they were. Yeah, they were. Yeah. And the Saints, everyone has the Saints penciled in for every home game, but now that streak's broken. I think they won like 11 in a row, or something like that. So that streak's broken. I now understand it's a mistake to assume that once a team that's known for being dominant in their home stadium, I'm known for thinking that, oh well, they lost, so it's a normal place now. I made that mistake with Seattle once Dallas beat them, but no, okay. I realize now it's still a thing. They just lost. Um, let's see here. Can you believe that the Raiders lost to the Broncos 41-17? Come on, man. Uh, it was funny. I was watching Interstellar while that game was going on, and I was getting notifications saying that Emmanuel Sanders was, scoring touchdowns and stuff. And I was super happy, but then I was like, oh wait, I'm going up against Peyton Manning this week. So it was kind of bittersweet. Peyton Manning dropped 70 on me. It's all good. It's all good. Um, Falcons Buccaneers 27-17. The Falcons actually won a football game since week 5. I'm very impressed. Yeah, you'd think the Buccaneers would come back with a vengeance, but you did. Yeah, you did. Falcons. No one should. I mean, when you have an offensive line as not only banged up but just so ill prepared, it seems, for playing the positions that they're at, and also a defensive line that like cannot blow on a quarterback or get anywhere near them. They're awful. Let's see, Giants Seahawks 38-17. All I can say is Odell Beckham Jr. is a problem. That's all I'll say. Did you see him just straight up disrespect Richard Sherman's presence on that deep ball? I will say Eli Manning did put it like on point, like the best spot, but Junior, Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be a problem in this league. But yeah, that's all. That's all I took away from this game. I'm sorry. I'm giving you, sorry people, I'm giving you the Reader's Digest of these games because I didn't watch any of them. All I watched was Baltimore and the Thursday night game. I'm sorry. Interstellar. That's all I gotta say. Uh, oh, okay. This. Well, I think I think I enjoyed it, if I'm not mistaken. It's one of those movies where it's so deep and it's so. No, 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 no. I don't want to disrespect one of my favorite directors in Christopher Nolan. It's one of those movies where it's so momentous and just so grand of a movie that you after it finishes 3 hours later after it finishes you're like, well, a lot happened and the acting was good and it's a good director. I liked it. I think, but it's just such a deep movie that has there's time travel and space travel in this movie and this Matthew McConaughey. I mean, I recommend it to anyone who has 3 hours of time and $12.50. If you have those two things, it's a must watch. Yeah, oh no, bring a friend. He'll pay for the popcorn. That's what I did. I refuse. I refuse to pay, you know, $43 for some juju beads. I refuse. I refuse. Also, are juju beads real, or is that just a fictional candy? You know what those are, right? It's from Drake and Josh. Never mind. Forget it. Forget it. I'm old. I'm old. Interstellar. All right, buddy. Uh, Cardinals beat the Rams 31-14. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I need to regress to, or reverse to something. I just really looked at the stat line for the Seattle game. Do you remember a couple weeks ago when we harped on Cam Newton for only completing 10 passes and no touchdowns? Russell Wilson completed 10 passes, 10 passes for no touchdowns and two picks, and Seattle still won 38-17. He had 21 carries for 140 and four touchdowns. That's incredible. There were no receiving touchdowns the whole game. Russell Wilson on one and Lynch on four. Wow. Sorry to mention that. It's because it's not like Andy Dalton. Like Russell Wilson can literally, I've said this before. Russell Wilson can complete like 13 passes for 133 and beat you 41 to 10. It doesn't matter. As long as he doesn't throw like over one interception, he's good. It's fine. Sorry, you were mentioning Austin Davis getting benched. I just had to mention that. Yeah, Cardinals are good. You know, what else can you say? You know, we're good. Yeah, yeah, ESPN. Losing to Denver does not a B team make. Uh, yeah, except New England. Um, man, the Bears. I told you, man. I told you before the season even started. Watch out for these Bears, man. Like they keep almost making it, and then they fall short. But this is the year. This is their year. Wow, I could not have been more wrong at all. The Bears got housed 55-14. Jeez, man. Like I don't even know like what am I supposed to say about this? What are you giving me? I was asleep. Yeah, this is, I mean, I was expecting the outcome, but not just a ridiculous. Yeah, it's Bears. Yeah, awful. They're really not. Uh, all right. This offers an interesting question because the Bears they do generate a lot of attention because of their all-star roster on offense and such. Um, how much of the what distribution of blame would you have for their 3-6 record? All right, so all right, hold on, but you gotta listen to the options here. All right, you got Jay Cutler. All right, there's one variable. You got Mark Trestman. You got the secondary, right? And um, I don't know. I'll throw in the turf of the fields. Maybe that's messing them up. So those are your options. What percentage of distribution? So you can go 50J, 50 defense, 35J. How would you describe it? Ooh. All right, I like that. I like that Mark Trestman's not getting a lot of that because it's really not his fault. Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I don't know why the Bears secondary, we talked about this a long time ago, back when they lost like 19 guys to injuries in one game, but like they just don't want to cover people, I guess. Oh yeah, that's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Yeah, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Lamar Houston, after a sack of Jimmy Garoppolo and a blowout when they got absolutely housed, they were down over 20 points. After a sack, yeah, after a sack in garbage time, he during his sack celebration tears his ACL. Speaking of torn ACLs, never mind. Yeah, there you go. I was actually going to segue into the Panthers Eagles game, but I realized there was no ACL segue there. So I was hoping. I'm glad you saved me. I'm glad. Thank you. How much of a problem is that for Arizona? Do you think, if at all? Interesting. Okay. All right. Cause I remember the interview with Bruce Arians. He was talking about how um, you know, they're losing that leadership as far as the offense goes with Carson Palmer. Because Carson Palmer, after playing, after not getting injured back in '06 and then playing with Oakland and getting shifted places, finding his home here, he's looked great. He's looked good. He's done what the Cardinals need him to do. Yeah, it's a shame. I believe it was non-contact, right? Oh dear. Okay. I don't think this is too negative for Arizona. No disrespect to Carson Palmer or anything. I just think that this team is sort of predicated on winning football games in any fashion possible, be it takeaways or shout out to his dances, man. I, send me a link, bro. Get someone to film it. um, uh, at H Firestone 11 on Twitter. For those of you who don't know, Panthers Eagles. Panthers 21, Eagles 45. Mark Sanchez filling in nicely for Nick Foles in his first start since 2012. So yeah, uh, the Eagles are starting to get into this category where around their time of their losses, I was thinking to myself, all right, okay, finally I can sit here and say, all right, Eagles are not they're not anything to be really worried about. They're just they're impressive. But now I'm starting to just become concerned because despite losing people, like you lost Nick Foles and D'Amico Ryans, and like granted it was against the Panthers that literally can't do anything right, but there you go. Um, yeah, Eagles should be fine. I, as far as Mark Sanchez, when he was playing last with the Jets, I there was this trend going on of saying that seeing all these memes on the internet saying that he was awful and all of this like just awful, terrible quarterback play, the butt fumble, overthrowing receivers, throwing picks left and right in typical Jets quarterback fashion. But here he is now, 2 years removed from all that. Do you think he benefits from this fresh start, or more so from the system that he's in? You, this is true, yeah. Yeah, like the talent that he's surrounded by, bald, and excellent special teams. I'm very concerned for Cam Newton. Very, very concerned. Are you going to talk about how many times he's been hit? Oh, sorry, sorry, sorry. Oh, oh, wow, wow, wow. They expect Cam Newton to stay alive. Jeez. I'm concerned for this man's health. Like seeing Cam Newton like with the hand wrapped up, with the ankle wrapped up, wearing this flak jacket, just getting demolished over and over again. Like he is in his 4 years as an NFL quarterback, he is, as far as hit, not just sacked, but he is the most hit quarterback in the NFL. He leads and it doubles the person who's behind him. Like this man, I honestly I feel really bad for him. I told you this before. Not only because he's losing, not only because he's throwing three picks, throwing a lot of picks, not completing a lot of passes, but just because he's been given this window that we give quarterbacks to judge him on. Like quarterbacks just, I believe Trent Dilfer said that they're one of the most poorly evaluated and conditioned positions in football because they're given this short window. If it doesn't happen within, say, a year, 2 years, you're just like, eh. But this guy, I'm really concerned mainly for his health. Mainly. Especially when you're getting blown out, yeah. Well, when you talk about Carolina, okay, last year, playoff team, right? What has changed is one, Cam Newton is basically target practice for defensive linemen. That's the first thing. Second thing, the defense literally cannot stop anyone. Anyone. Like, what's the lowest score they've held any team to this whole season? I would love to know what that is. Had I done research, I could have told you, you know? But I don't believe in that. But it's probably like 28 or something like that. It's something ridiculous. But like when you just lump all of this together, as far as Cam Newton underperforming, Cam Newton getting hit a bunch, the defense not putting him in good positions, and lump that with the fact that people already think he's pouty, and lump that with the fact that he's been playing already for 4 years, and lump that with the fact that he was such a high prospect and had such a good year last year and his rookie season, it's just you gotta you gotta feel for the man. I honestly feel just terrible for him. Like I genuinely I don't know if he'll be able to survive much longer in the league, or maybe he'll just go down as like a you know just a guy that never fulfilled his potential. You know. But before we get on to week 11 and do our picks, I almost forgot something. It's like the marquee thing that I had to mention, and you almost let me forget. I'm sure everyone would. Me, as a Baltimore Ravens fan, though obviously everyone no one watched it because the show was canceled. Obviously canceled. It wasn't deleted. It was canceled. Last week I was explaining why the Ravens got blown out by Pittsburgh, and as you know, I hate Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh lost to the New York Jets 13-20. Like the Steelers scored 3 points in the first half and scored a garbage time touchdown and field goal in the fourth quarter. Like what? What? I'm sorry. I just had to bring attention to that because now Pittsburgh and Baltimore have the same record, and I just want to throw that out there in case my dad ever listens to the show because he's a big Pittsburgh fan, and losing to the Jets is like the epitome of like just the most disrespectful thing you can do to a franchise is lose to the Jets. Pittsburgh has now lost to Tampa, Cleveland, and New York. But now saying Cleveland isn't that big of a diss because Cleveland is sitting at the top of the division. But back then, you'd think that was pretty awful. I just wanted to mention that. I'm sorry, Pittsburgh's, Pittsburgh lost. Anyway, Michael Vick. Oh, also, do you think Michael Vick, uh, his presence, if he had been there since the beginning of the year, would have significantly impacted this 2-8 record? Yeah. Go watch Interstellar. Seriously.